we have Yashica Clemmons here, and she's ready this is her first interview. But just to give you a quick background about this story, I'm going to play the media and response to when they first heard about when they first unveiled this to the world about the Pinellas the Pinellas County Sheriff's murder of these three precious African girls.
I heard him yelling as it was going down, but they're done.
Now at 11, dramatic dash cam video from the night 3 teens drowned after they crashed a stolen car into a St. Pete pond. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jamison Euler.
And I'm Wendy Ryan. Thanks for joining us. We've been going through several DVDs with that video and lots of pictures from that night for hours now.
The Pinellas County Sheriff's Office turning over all of its evidence just a week after the teen's family lawyer calls for a new investigation.
ABC Action News reporter Sarah Rosario has been digging through all that evidence and now joins us with the very latest out there. Sarah?
That's right, Wendy and Jamison. The sheriff's office sending us this packet full of evidence, including all of these DVDs and the reports I've laid out for you here on top of our live truck, including dash cam video, radio traffic, and pictures, all showing us the moments leading up to those teenagers coming here to this cemetery and before they crashed their car into a pond.
It's about 2 feet of the trunk left, and it's going to be completely under. It's going all the way down.
Newly released dash cam video shows Pinellas County deputies following 3 teenagers to their death.
They're done. They're 6, 7 days.
Video showing the pond like a marsh, too thick for deputies to save the girls. In a press conference, the sheriff says officers took off their belts, rushing into the water to save them. The sheriff says they didn't get far. But in this dash cam video, it only shows officers standing near the pond, watching the girls' car sink and calling for backup.
I hear him yelling, I think.
But it's too late. 15-year-old Lanaya Miller, Ashante Butler, and 16-year-old Dominique Battles drown.
They're done.
Now their families, hiring lawyers, are calling for a new investigation, saying officers aren't telling the whole story about the girls they painted as criminals. Just last week, Lanaya Miller's mom fighting tears, speaking about her daughter.
My daughter was not perfect. What 15-year-old is?
The girls are accused of stealing a car at a Walmart parking lot and running from police several times before crashing into the pond. Today, their lawyer is also receiving the evidence, saying they can't comment until they go through everything. But just last week, they told us, after conducting their own investigation, they believe there are inconsistencies in law enforcement statements and moments leading to the crash.
In my opinion, this has been a rush to judgment. In my opinion, this has been a smear campaign.
And we spoke to the family's lawyers today. They do say they do need time to review all of that evidence before they'll make a statement. We're hoping that will be tomorrow. And again, we are expecting to learn more information about this tomorrow. While the families have hired this lawyer, they're not saying that they're going to be suing, only that they would like a new investigation. Reporting live in St. Pete, Sarah Rosario, ABC Action News.
Uhuru, that was the first. Well, a week after the incident happened, and the media was scrambling, trying to make some type of to control the narrative, to give the narrative, and here in studio we have Yashica Clemmons here, also with Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is going to be by her side every step of the way in this interview, and also throughout the process of this case. So I want to welcome you, Yashica. How are you?
I'm okay for the most part.
Okay. And I want to welcome you also, Chairman. How are you today?
Uhuru.
All right. So Yashica, this is, I really want to first send my condolences out to you and your family. I totally support you and everything that you're going to be doing, and my heart is heavy because of the loss of my sister. So I just wanted to just let you know that. But given after I see you tearing up because of what you've heard. Where are those tears coming from? Why are you when you hear that?
Mostly because I'm angry at the sheriff department, and not only them but the police as well, for weeks on end, they kept saying we didn't chase those girls, we only followed them, we only saw them. But your own dash cam videos show that that's not true, that you lied. And if you continue to lie, then no one's to believe you. So how can I believe that they just supposedly helped my babies? And I say they're my babies because all three of those girls were like family to me. But Dominique Battles is my daughter.
Uhuru. Now, it's been a smear campaign. Like we, as the Uhuru movement, did some things in St. Petersburg, and you were saying that the first time you've seen out in public different pictures besides the mug shots of the three African girls was when we did what we did. So what does that make you feel about, what's going on? Because I know you know a different side of Dominique than what they're trying to portray. And could you tell us about that side of Dominique?
Dominique is a loving young lady. She loved her friends. She loved her family. She would just go on ends. If she didn't have something, her friends didn't have it. She trusted them, and she was always there for them, as well as her brothers and sisters. She babysat them with no questions. She never asked for anything. She was just so loving and easygoing, and every time you see her, she's always smiling. She loved her dimples. She would call her angel kisses. And, everyone loved her. No matter what she went at, people would always tell me how polite she was or how mannerable she was.
Mm-hmm. Uhuru. This just a very sad situation as far as, you losing, this is Mother's Day, and this gotta be, painful. And we as the Uhuru movement, we understand something about, when our children are taken by the state. We understand that this is not a coincidence. This is not an isolated incident. This is something that always happens to African people, no matter where we are around in this world. Could you give us the just what happened, the narrative of what happened, as far as from that night, that day, and how just how the media is just got it all wrong, in a sense.
Well, the media is trying to depict them as like they actually stole the car and what have you, but that's not true. Seeing how a grown man of the age of 30-something picked these young girls up from, the area where they were at, which is the Child's Park area, and planned to do who knows what with them. In the car, there were witnesses that say plenty of alcohol and underwear and bras, and, so I believe he was a part of a trafficking ring for young ladies or even prostitution. And he supposedly drove to a Walmart where they sell no TVs at. It's only a grocery store to buy a TV with these girls in the car. And they took off, probably fleeing from him, doing whatever they could to get away from that situation. And the police got behind them. The first time they got behind them was because they ran the tire and it came back as a stolen car. Okay, but they did not stop the girls at that point. Then they got behind them again because they went through a red light, but they didn't stop them at that point either. And if you look at the video, you could actually see them chasing the girls first onto the highway, and as they veer off and go down the side road, they're behind them still. The sirens blazing, lights are going, everything. And where's the footage of y'all when y'all turn into the graveyard? There's no footage of that from where you followed them, supposedly followed them, I'm sorry, into this graveyard that y'all were not chasing them into.
I think that one of the difficult things that Sister Yashica and so many victims of police and state terror are confronted with is that there's this always tactic of putting the families in our community on the defensive. The way they describe them. First, they come up with, they murder somebody, then they put mugshots up. They say, well, they had a record, as if they gave it to themselves. Somebody gave them a record. And then they say that there's something wrong with the children, or there's something wrong with the parents. They didn't have good parenting, or the children were bad, that they had some kind of records. We're talking about two of the children were 15 and the other was 16 years old. And they want to characterize them as criminals. And then there's our response too often is try to prove that we were really not criminals. And the problem is, there are several problems here. One is that there has never been a time in our history in this country where the police, some police agency was not attacking and killing and harming us. The fact is that the prisons in this country today are filled with African people. That more than 50% of the people in prison today they are black people. In a country that's more than 1 million people. That's more black people in prison in this country than there are human beings in the what they call a country of Namibia, Djibouti, and other places like that in Africa. That's a huge sector of our population. We only make up, they say, something like 13% of the population, but we're more than 50% of the people in prison. And that prison relationship begins with the cops, begins with the sheriff's department. Africans don't volunteer to go to jail or go to prison. The police do that, one agency or another. So the first thing is that somebody needs to answer the question, why are all those black people in prison? With such a tiny minority of the population, why are all the black people in prison? And if you want to say that just black people are criminals, then say that. And then that clarifies everything, and then that helps us to understand, helps the community understand what kind of struggle we have to be engaged in. The second thing is, even if the girls had stolen the car from this strange man who has never been identified, who is in his 30s, 2 15-year-old and 1 16-year-old, even if they had stolen the car, that car theft is not a capital offense. It's not punishable by death. And certainly, and even if it were punishable by death, there's allegedly a process that one goes through. There's the cops who will arrest somebody, they go before a judge, they're sentenced, etc. But here you have a situation where these white people who call themselves sheriff's deputies, and that's what we are. We're talking about white people who call themselves sheriff's deputies, and white people call themselves all kinds of things, Democrats, Republicans, and sometimes it says we're the sheriff, we're the police department, but there's a history of white people killing us in this country. And then they would chase these African girls, and they say they have a no-chase policy. Now, how do they explain chasing them if they have a no-chase policy? Well, we really weren't chasing them, they were fleeing. Well, fleeing from what? From their own imagination? Then they would show a dash cam camera that shows that the cops were rolling at sometimes more than 90 miles per hour behind these girls. Then they pushed these children into the water. 15 and 16, they pushed them into the water and claimed that somehow they just drove into this pond. When you look at the pictures, and there are pictures available, that shows that the rear end of that car, the bumper, is almost detached, and it is quite consistent with what the police refer to as a pit maneuver, where the police chase somebody and then they will tap the back end of the car with their car in order to make the car destabilize the car and make it impossible for somebody to continue. And that's what that indicated. And the other thing about the pit maneuver is that if especially they're on uneven terrain, rocky terrain, and moving that fast, then the car can go anywhere. It leaves the ground, often the vehicle will leave the ground. And this is not something I'm manufacturing. You can Google this and find out what the pit maneuver is. And that is consistent with those children drowning. And then they say that the heroic cops, and they really talked about how the sheriff deputy was such great heroes, etc. And then you look at the video, and what you see are cops standing around chatting. There's not even stress in their voice when they're talking about these children drowned. They're not excited. They're not upset. They said that's overdue or something to this effect. This is white people who kill the children, and then they sat around having a casual chat about it. And then now we're supposed to be on the defensive, and Sister Yashica is supposed to be concerned about being considered a bad parent, and the children who were murdered, 15 and 16-year-old girls, have been demonized and vilified by the media and by the sheriff's department. So that's not going to fly. We have to really fight against that. And I want to say one other thing, that African people in this country, and especially African working class and poor people, catch hell in ways that's unimaginable to ordinary white people. We live in situations where the white middle class, they are ashamed of us, the way we live. They are ashamed of us. The white power put us in these circumstances where we can barely exist, and we have to do all kinds of things in order to exist. And the white middle class want to make sure that they clarify, white folks, we are not like these Negroes over here. So they are ashamed of us. And when you hear these discussions, these narratives of whether or not the child stole a car, why did they steal a car, why did white people steal us? Why are we in this situation, and why are poor African children? You have a situation where they're denied everything. They're denied ability to be in school peacefully without harassment, without being taught garbage that demeans us as a people. They're denied any kind of recreation. They're denied any future. It's not like these children could anticipate having a decent future for themselves. White people and white power are responsible for that, not those children. And the problem is that most of what you hear all the time is a narrative that satisfies the understanding of middle class Negroes who want to make sure that white people don't think that they are like the rest of us. And so we have to tell a certain story, and we have to act like it's necessary for us to cover up for the black working class people. We're not covering up for anybody. When Negro middle class people act like that, they're covering up for white power. Because if a child, a 15, 16-year-old stole a car, living in dire poverty and what have you, that's been imposed on them from the outside, who can't even see a future living as black people in America, then America is responsible for it and not those children. And I'm not going to stand here apologizing for those children. And those Negroes, when they act like they're apologizing for the children, what they're really doing is apologizing for white power. They're apologizing for the sheriff that murdered those children. So we up in a real serious struggle here, because this is a black working class woman, who has done all kinds of stuff to try to survive and take care of her children, her family. And we're not ashamed of surviving. We're not ashamed of what we've had to do in order to survive. And Sister Yashica will be embraced by the Uhuru movement and everybody that we can win around this world, because she is the victim, not the sheriff's department. And then they talk about, I want to just say this other thing, because they like to hold up the sheriffs and cops as these great heroes, these heroic forces. I've forgotten, sometimes, they're even in this city, they have this thing about the heroic cops. They don't sound so heroic to me. Every time you look up, they're killing somebody. Well, he went into his waistband. I was afraid for my life. I couldn't go in the water because it was too dangerous. Well, that's your job, to do dangerous stuff. And you live on this lie about the police work being the most dangerous work. In fact, it doesn't even register on the scale of dangerous jobs in this country. You got guns, you got all this other stuff, and you're scared to death. Perhaps you should have been a nurse. Something like that. But we don't accept that you were so afraid. If there had been 3 dogs in that car, as it was said before, those white people would have been in that water trying to get those dogs out. But they were African children, and they knew who they were chasing, and that's precisely why they let them die, and then blamed the murder on the community. Because bad parenting, bad children, etc. They stole a car. Hell, America wouldn't be what it was if it hadn't stolen black people. And we're still paying the price for being stolen goods ourselves. So Sister Yashica is going to be, we embrace her in the most serious kind of way, and we embrace her as an African working class woman. You don't have to put on no airs. You don't have to act like no sellout Uncle Tom. We're not going to tell you not to express your pain and your anger at what happened to you, because I'm mad as hell myself. And because that was your daughter, but she was my sister. And so I just wanted to say that. And this is what I think everybody should understand. Don't defend her because of the possibility that the child might have stolen a car. Don't be on some kind of defensive about something like that. We are not defensive about anything because I want to know who that 36-year-old man was. They haven't said who the hell he was, who they were in the car with. Yeah. Did he complain? Is he complaining now? Is he, I want to know who he was. Why aren't they investigating that? This area of the country is known for what do you call it, human trafficking. It's known for human trafficking. One of the highest rates of human trafficking in the country happens here. Why weren't they assuming that this grown man with 3 children might have been involved in human trafficking? So I'm just saying that we're not taking this rap, and we're not handling it this way. And Sister Yashica will never be alone, and she doesn't have to apologize for a damn thing, and we don't have to apologize for those dead children. In fact, one of the sheriff's officers who was there on the scene some years ago was involved in a homicide of a teenage black boy who also was drowned to death. Why aren't anybody, and why Skaggs was his name, why aren't somebody asking questions? Why isn't somebody asking questions about that? So we're not taking this rap. And it's going to be a fight, tooth and nail, down to the end. And we're going to be working with Sister Yashica all down the line. Uhuru.
Sister Yashica, how did you find out about the situation?
The police came to my job, and it was like maybe 10 of them. And they was asking me questions like, how many kids do you have? Where your kids go to school at? Where your kids in daycare at? What are your kids' names? And all the while I'm thinking, okay, someone must have called Child Protective Services about I don't know what, but that's the only thing I could think of with questions like that. Not once they say we give out condolences or, we need to, talk to you, tell you something, very serious. They just came at me with all these threatening questions. So I got defensive. I'm like, what's going on? You need to tell me why y'all need this information. And then he was like, well, describe your daughter. And I'm like, why do I need to describe my daughter? What's going on? That's what you need to be telling me. And he was like, well, do she have a tattoo? So do she have any piercings? Do she have any markings on her body? So I was like, well, she has my name on her tattooed on her leg, and on her arm she has my son's name. And then it was like, well, we need to tell you that she's dead. But we never chased them. Not once did we chase them. We got behind them and we followed them, is all they kept telling me.
Wow. You see the importance of Africa Live? You see the importance of us having our own media? This is eye-opening. This can't happen. This can't continue to happen. That is, I don't even know what to say to that.
Well, what I want to say is that there is an attempt being made to isolate the sister. Sometimes it's an attempt by certain sectors of the African community for their own benefit. There is a sector that intends to, if they can, they intend to profit from this loss. We have one example of a Negro County commissioner. His name is Kenneth Welch, a Negro who goes out to the pond at night, he says, and video himself. He says, wearing wading boots where he's walking in the water because he had to find out for himself exactly what happens. And he says, I'm up in water up to my ankles. And that, and I'm afraid, or something to that effect. And I can see how the police didn't go in to get the children. Now, he's an apology for the white man, for the sheriff. I've known this guy and his family for generations, and I won't even go into that because they'd have to play the dozen. But the fact is that this guy, we've never seen him investigating anything that supports black people. And now he's going, when we accuse the sheriff of the murder that they committed, he's going to go out there and try to offer a defense for the sheriff department against the charges of the murder of these 3 girls. He's defending the sheriff's department. They're well armed. They got the media. They got everything backing them up, a court system, etc. This child has nothing, and she's lost her daughter, and so he's doing that. Then we have a situation where we had a press conference and invited a lot of people to participate in the press conference. All these organizations that say that they work for the interests of African people were supposed to be here. And then the NAACP's name was inadvertently put there because we were told by people that the NAACP was going to be here. But the NAACP doesn't show up. And then we get a letter from the NAACP's lawyer saying that you cannot use the NAACP. This is a cease and desist letter. That you cannot use the name of the NAACP, you can't write NAACP, you can't say NAACP, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it looks like black people are being denied the right to say NAACP, and I'm thankful for that because we've been saying NAACP for too long, and it hasn't helped us at all. And so you got the NAACP that comes out to make sure and tells the media that they have nothing to do with this. Then you've got groups that said they were the Black Lives Matter, the Dream Defenders, etc. Initially said they were, and these are people we've known as Black Lives Matter from time to time, and now they put out a message that they got nothing to do with it, that they would put out their own statement that had nothing to do with the press conference because it seems they were concerned that we were charging the police with murder. And some of them wanted to say that they'd rather call it negligence. And how do you neglectly follow somebody at 90-some-odd miles per hour, no chase policy? And how do you negligently use a pit mover to push somebody in the water, and then negligently come out and lie, and then say that the parents and the children are the ones who are responsible? So this is the kind of stuff that this sister has to deal with and our community has to deal with, and that's what I'm talking about. You got the black middle class that's out there who are ashamed of us. In fact, there are some people even suggested that the sister who was supposed to be defending her needed to have speech therapy. I mean, it's the most ridiculous, asinine, petty bourgeois, middle class, Negro kind of stuff. They work on the other side, and that's the kind of stuff she's up against, but she doesn't have to be because our community will support her because most of us are working class people. We are not those big shots who are too significant or too important to have a relationship with our community. I wanted to say those things. And Sister Yashica is going to be with us at African Liberation Day on May 21st at Howard University. And, I'm hoping everybody will mobilize and get there because she's going to be speaking. We're not going to let this story die. And we're not going to let our enemies control the narrative here. They need to meet this sister. And she hasn't even told half the kind of stuff that she has had to go through, even to be where she is, even to take care of her children. She had 5 children, and she's taking care of those children by herself under the worst kinds of circumstances. And so she is our soldier, our sister, and just a incredibly strong African woman who deserves all the support from our community. Uhuru.
I just wanted to ask, what was your relationship with the other 2 girls?
They were like my daughters. Lanaya I had known for almost 2 years. She would come and stay the night. She would take showers and eat and come into that. She never even had to knock on the door. That's how welcome she was in my home. When she just would walk in anytime she came over. She would go, when she was hungry, she would go in the kitchen and fix her something to eat. She never had to ask for anything. And Ashanti, it was the same with Ashanti. I don't know her for a couple of months, but it was the same way. She would come in and, all of them called me mom. Of course, my daughter, but the other 2 always called me mom. And, when they go out to the stores or whatever, they always ask, did I want anything or did I need anything? They was always willing to help, even to babysit my younger 2 kids. They was all eager to do so as well. So I loved all 3 of them like they were all mine, even though I only birthed 1.
So you in essence are fighting for all of them, all 3 of them.
Yes, sir.
Uhuru. I'm just kind of flabbergasted at the way that the state came at you and informing you of your loss. That just, I can't get over that, how they already had criminalized you and made up their mind how they were going to treat you and try to intimidate you into in your mourning. I mean, this just shows that there is no bit of humanity as far as Africans are concerned when it comes to the state. And I mean that's consistent if they steal you from your freedom to encase you in this crap or this mess, right? That that we call America or the U.S. So it's just I just really can't get over that fact that and also some of the evidence that you're asking for is being withheld too, and the cell phone. Could you tell us about the cell phone?
Well, property. I mean,
and all the property. It's property. Yeah, the property. I should say. Ooh.
Not only her cell phone, but her clothing as well, and things that she had on her that night. I haven't received any of it, but when I went down there to pick up her things, I seen the bike, and I know there were more things than what they gave me. They gave me an empty purse and one of her earrings. And that was all they gave me, and told me that they weren't allowed to release anything else to me, and that I would have to take it up with the chef who was on the case. And I know his last name is Gills. I'm not for sure what his first name is, but I know his last name is Gills. And they said I had to go to the chef office and ask him. So when I went there, he's not there. But my supposedly lawyer, I called her at the same time to let her know what they released to me and wanted to question and ask her why as well. Why are they not giving me my daughter's belongings? And she's telling me, well, I'll call them and I'll send emails and what have you to see why they're not releasing this stuff. And she has yet as well to even get back to me with any information on why they haven't released it. So when I asked her a couple of days ago, why did she get in contact with them? Did they say why they haven't released her or anything? And she was like, well, I'm planning to file a lawsuit because they haven't returned over your daughter's things in a couple of days. But I have yet to hear from her. Now it's going on 4 days, and I still have not heard anything from her.
Do you feel that the representation that you have is okay, we'll work on that. So tell me, do you have any questions or anything you want to add?
You want to say anything?
Yes. Who are you, Yashica?
Is there anything you want to say more?
I just want for the community to please get behind me. I'm involved with the Uhuru, and I'm going to continue to be involved with them even after this case is over with. These are wonderful, excellent people, and they came to me at my time of need. Even before they knew me, they welcomed me and my family and my daughter, and they was already fighting for justice for my daughter. And so I thank them, and I just want everyone out there to know that I'm not going down without a fight. There is no way in hell, and excuse my French, that I'm going to let these people get away with taking 3 lives, innocent girls who had futures, who had plans to be young ladies. My daughter was planning to be a pediatrician. She was trying to get back in school. She loved babies, and that's what she wanted to do. And you took that from her, and you have no right to take anything, no right at all. In your job description, it does not say we take. It says we protect, and you did not protect my child, and I am so pissed about that.
Well, so this is really a call for everybody to get behind this case. It's going to be a lot of work. We want to publicize this case. We want everybody who has access to this information. You can be looking for more information. There are going to be more press conferences. We're going to be having stuff up on Uhuru, on the burningspear.com. It'll be in the Uhuru, in the Burning Spear newspaper. We'll use every forum, every medium that's available to us, and we want you to pass the word. We want you to even go online and find out what the white ruling class media is saying about this. And we want you to be familiar with this case because it's our responsibility to get the word out. Let's share this. Let's do everything we can to get the word out so that everybody will know about this case. It's so phony what the state is saying that, and so obvious what the state is saying that it will not stand won't stand up to scrutiny. So let's look at it. And the other thing that I think is really important too is that black working class people are tired of these mealy-mouthed sellouts who call themselves representing us, and who actually find it's their responsibility to keep us from telling the truth and to try and make us somebody who can appeal to white power, white people, or something like that, as opposed to recognizing that, if anything, white people should be working overtime to try to appeal to us, because we ain't never did nothing to them. It's they who committed all these offenses against us. So I think that our community is tired of that. I think black people in general are tired of this, and that we're going to be stepping forward. And this case is not going to be a mealy-mouthed sellout kind of case. We're saying that the sheriff department murdered these children, and that they've done everything to slander these children and slander the parents of these children. And there are others who are trying to split the families and for their own benefit, and who act to cover up for the state and for the police department. And we're going to fight everybody who tries to deny justice in this case. And I'm so impressed by Sister Yashica. Before I met her, I saw her involved in a press confrontation where this woman, this sister by herself, surrounded by hostile media with mics in her face, telling them, coming up with crazy stories about the criminality of her daughter and the criminality of the children and why were the children together, etc. And I saw this woman by herself, standing up, going toe-to-toe with these very sophisticated, well-educated, erudite representatives of white power media. And this sister is a fighter. I mean, I was so impressed with that. She didn't have any organization with her. She didn't have any lawyer with her. In fact, somebody came up and said, "I'll be your lawyer." But she didn't have any lawyer. She was by herself. And she never should ever have to be by herself again. She will never be by herself again. But I was so impressed with her courage, because I've seen them. You've seen them on TV. White man goes into the church in South Carolina, kill 9 people. And then the media will come up and dare the victims' parents and families to say that they are upset. They're saying that you all got to say you forgive the killer. I've seen them say when Africans murdered by the police, you force them to say that, well, I don't hate anybody. I've seen Sharpton do it with the family members of Grayson, of Eric Garner, have the sisters and the wife, come up and say that, in fact, Sharpton had them go to the funeral of a cop who had got killed after that. That's what they had to do. Well, you don't have to do any of that stuff. You're supposed to be mad. There's something wrong with you if you're not mad. That's one of the reasons Africans got ulcers and high blood pressure and everything, that you can't even express your anger at what's happening to you. So we've seen media do that kind of stuff to parents and family members of victims. But this sister stood up. In the face of all that media, this sister stood up and went toe-to-toe with them, and I was so impressed with that. So I said, that's our sister there. Mm-hmm. Somebody said, you were in the process of becoming a sister. I said, you're already a sister.
Uhuru.
Yeah.
We have about 4 minutes.
Did we open this up, ask anybody who wanted to call in? We didn't even.
Yeah, we did open it up. But yeah, if you want to call in real quick, we got 5 minutes left. The number to do that is 767-565-1599. Again, that's 767-565-1599. You can call in and
or you can email at
DJ@uhururadio.com. DJ@uhururadio.com. You can email us and we can get communicate that way also.
Yeah. So if you want to participate in this discussion, give the sister a shout, holler at her, and let's hear from somebody out there. Uhuru. So you were saying, Jevon.
Yes, I was just saying that we have about 3 minutes left now, and I just wanted to just how can people support Sister Yashica? I know that you know, we're in the process of learning a lot of things about this case and about the process. But I don't know if Yashica, do you have anything as far as like a Facebook page or something like that where you can send?
We're framing the campaign now.
Okay.
Let's pull together a total campaign so that she's not going to be by herself.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So let's pull together a total campaign. I mean, if she has anything she wants to say, she should say that and etc. But let's pull together a total campaign so that, because we are going to be calling on people to come out and take stands. I want people to come, if they can, to Washington, D.C. for May 21st at Howard University Blackburn Center, ALD. But there's other stuff, because this is going to be a major campaign, so there are going to be resources involved in this, and I want this sister to have access to all of that. So I don't want it, if it were up to me, it wouldn't just come out piecemeal, a little something over there, a little something over there. Let's pull together a comprehensive, strategic approach to this campaign.
Oh, so you heard that. We're pulling together a campaign, and if you want to support, just follow the Uhuru movement, also UhuruRadio.com, also the Burning Spear newspaper, theburningspear.com. You can go to the InPDUM sites, everything that we have going on as the Uhuru movement. This case, Yashica, will be highlighted. You know, this would be highlighted because we're not going to lose this one. They can't keep killing us. So just wanted to say that, and we have a phone call. So let's call Uhuru.
Please state your name and where you're calling from, please.
Uhuru Pierre Jean. I'm calling from Pembroke Pines, Florida.
Uhuru, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, and I do want to, commend Yashica Clemmons for coming on the air and sharing your account of what's happening. I mean, you standing there, like I've seen you in the other interviews, and you give me strength. And I just want to thank you, sister. As a comrade here with the Uhuru movement, we will fight for you. And everybody here watching, we do stand and unite with you. And I just want you to know that. All right? It's really a tragedy, and my heart goes out to you and all the other mothers. Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, Pierre. Uhuru, are there any other calls? Anybody else? No? Well, I want to thank Pierre for calling in and giving those words of encouragement. We have reached the end of the show. It is actually 1 o'clock now. So the next live show we'll be having is next week, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern on UhuruRadio.com. I'm Jevon G with Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and also Yashica Clemmons. And we'll see you next week. Government department started it in the projects.